Greetings, exiles and foodies. Welcome to a Leap Slam of groundbreaking Ignite League Starter. And before you go to the comments and rage about that Leap Slam of groundbreaking is not a League Starter, let this boomer take your hand and guide you through this guide. I'm gonna go from the very level 20 before you can even start getting Leap Slam of groundbreaking all the way to a high budget where we're hitting 31 million DPS if you do your gear right. This can even scale even higher if you really want to go that far and invest that much in it. So without further ado, let's get into it. Why did I pick Leap Slam of groundbreaking? I saw the build 2 leagues ago. I didn't see it last league, but I went to PUB here now and actually checked out all the builds that were on PoE Ninja for this exact archetype. And you can go this, you can go Eviscerate, you can go Elementalist, something else. Of course, we are taking a hit in damage because this one is going to be nerfed by 50% effect of buff granted by your Golem. But in the grand scheme, that's not going to mean that much. So, without further ado, let's get to it. I made loadouts, and this is gonna swap both your skill tree, your items, and your skills that you're gonna be using. So let's start from the very beginning. I've taken a lot of inspiration for leveling from people like Cicerone, Captain Lance, anyone that's basically been leveling this archetype so many times that I can't even count it. Of course, we're gonna go with a Wave of Conviction setup, but before we can even get to that, we're gonna roll with Rolling Magma. Get it? Roll with Rolling Magma. Ha, ha, ha. Anyways, Rolling Magma is gonna be your favorite skill to level with until you can really get into the Arma brand setup. It's have some bounces, it have with Elemental Prolif and Combustion, some great igniting, good clear ability. Combine that with Wave of Conviction, and I can even see that I've forgotten the Firewall skill here. Well, it's just going to be a great time for you. Now, for items, I'm not going to put anything in here. And of course, in configuration, I've put in plus 200 to all elemental resistance because you should always focus on fixing your resistances. This is not going to be how you speed run this leveling all the way to the max. There are way better people at explaining that than me. I'm probably in the mid tier of leveling speed, so yeah, take my leveling tips with a grain of salt. For the first level 20 here, you can see we have the tree where we're basically just branching up, picking up life, some stats, elemental resistance, fire damage, life, and more fire damage. Now for the level 28 swap, we're gonna go and get Armor Brand at this point. Armageddon Brand is gonna be your clear, and it's gonna be like smooth butter. And basically at this point, you won't have Ignite Proliferation, so you still want to use Elemental Proliferation. And with that in mind, you're also going to be using Cremation. Cremation is going to be a single target, and you want to use a Desecrate on top of the boss, then use Cremation, and you win. Simple as that. Swap in the things you can for the links you have, but yeah, that's basically it for this. Then for the tree, we of course picked up a Fire Mastery with regenerate 1 life per uncapped fire res. So again, cap your res for more life regen and easier sustain. Next to that, we picked up the Heart of Flame, and we moved over to Elemental Overload. This is gonna trigger once in a while. It's not gonna be stable at this point, so bear in mind with that. But it's gonna help you really, really well in some scenarios, and you will really feel it at this point. Next, we're gonna go for all gems unlocked. And this is also where we'll have the Golem commander picked up, because at this point, you can start to use golems. We're gonna use Flaming Golem, Lightning Golem, Stone Golem, and Chaos Golem. Why? Because damage, area of effect, attack speed and cast speed, and mana regen, life regen and defenses, and damage over time multiplier and chaos resistance. There's so many people who's been saying why this is so goddamn broken, especially with the Golem Commander and the Ascendency Leech of Primordial. This is also gonna be where you've picked up your first Ascendency point, and this is just busted, okay? Period. There's nothing more to it. Of course, I pathed over so you can pick up some dexterity. At this point, we're also gonna move over and get the Holy Fire because we're gonna have a whole lot of more dot damage at this point, and Ignite is gonna be your bread and butter. We're still going for the Armageddon Brand and Cremation. So, moving on, you have your second Ascendency. And this is where it's gonna be really fun because this is where you pick up Shaper of Flames. Also, this is where you're gonna start to invest a ton in block chance. So of course we have Arcane Sanctuary and we have the Arcane Guardian here, which are both great for blocking spell damage at this point. Of course you want to pick up a shield before you grab these nodes, that's kinda the idea. And at this point also, here you could start to see things like an Opal Scepter with +1 level of all fire skill gems. This I would recommend at any given point, either if you can get a wand or a scepter with plus to all fire spell skill gems. We will still add our second Ascendency. I'm very sorry for me not being able to speak, it's been a long day. But basically at this point, at your second Ascendency, you want to start to swap over to a Vial Flame Blast and Wave of Conviction. The Vial Flame Blast, I actually picked up the idea from watching Cicerone's Guide, and that's pretty smart actually. It's basically going to be a tactical nuke being able to be fired once in a while on bosses. For the tree at this point, except for the block nodes, we're also going to pick up the Purity of Flesh down here for more maximum life, some aura nodes, and of course we're going to pick Divine Judgment because 50% increased elemental damage is a ton at this point. Moving on, you will be starting to entering maps. You will do that around level 70, and with that in mind, you will also be using Wave of Conviction still. Now you might be wondering, why have we not swept over to Leap Slam at this point? Well, because Leap Slam is still a transfigured gem, so you won't be able to buy it unless you're one of the very first and you really know what you're doing. So to just until you're comfortable, have the gem set up and everything, go with Wave of Conviction. It's gonna be so much more smooth for you. At this point, you also want to have basically a armor edge shield, pick up block, life, resistances, everything. A helmet with crafted socketed AoE gems, and basically you want a level to all fire spell skill gems and spell damage, or just generic elemental spell damage, whatever you can find on this Opal Scepter. I've put in a Quicksilver flask, and of course you can fill out the rest as needed. Make sure to make your flask magic at least. It's gonna help you so much. So with that in mind, we're still using this. We're still using the Flame Golem, Lightning Golem, Stone Golem, Chaos Golem, and so on. And of course, use whatever movement skill you want. So when you enter the map, you also want to start to pick up things like this node that I cannot pronounce yet, Acrimony, something. We also want to pick up Eldritch Battery because we will have some Inji Shield that you can start to use as you're reserving pretty much most of your mana as you're using the auras that you are. You also want to have Determination, of course, because you're more squishy than a banana between 10 gorillas. And of course, you started pathing down here and getting more life, getting even more life. And then, of course, we're picking up Sanctuary because this is just bonkersly strong. Now, this is where you start to swap over to Leap Slam. My suggestion is basically buying a Bronze Slift. You can buy the Corrupted if you want and use the Corrupted fusings and jewelers to make it 6 socketed and 5 or 6 linked, relatively easy and relatively cheap. So keep that in mind. But Bronze Slift here, together with a Rebuke of the Wild, which should only be a few Ks. It's always been a few Ks from past many leagues. Then of course you want a shield with dex, block chance, accuracy and life. A Blizzard Crown can actually do extremely much. As you can see here, if I remove it, we lose about 10% DPS, boots with movement speed, resistance, life and everything. And then for Amulet, you want to start picking up Primordial Chain, and as soon as you can, allocate Safeguard for that extra chance to block spell damage. A Lehoop if you can get it, otherwise a Rare Ring, and of course a Barracks Respite is what you want to start to see at when you're entering yellow maps, because you will have the ignite all nearby enemies and killing a ignited enemy. So basically you will ignite one enemy and it will spread like the wind. You want to have a Diadem or Diandorn heavy build. I can't pronounce it, I'm so very sorry. But basically this is perfect for our build and you will be using it till the end. So if you can get a okay rolled and basically chuck on attack modifiers, the ignites with inflicted attacks will deal damage faster. That's a crazy good stat for you. So next to that, I just like Blood of Karui Life Flask here, and especially because you can craft used when you take a savage hit. We are kind of squishy at this point, but keep that in mind. You are kind of like a Flicker Strike build in that regard. Your movement skill but deal damage. For the skills here, I've put everything to level 16 so you can get a kind of idea where we are. This is around level 60, you probably have this higher even. Then of course you want Leap Slam Groundbreaking, and we want to start using things like Swift Affliction, Deadly Elements, Efficacy, Unbound Elements. Of course here you will have Malevolence, Flammability and Temper Seal for that dot damage, this extra for block chance to spell, and of course Shock Immunity, and of course, yeah, you get it. Fire resistance minus for your enemies. I picked up Frostblink as an extra movement, so Leap Slam Frostblink. I like Frostblink. You can use Flame Dash or Shield Charge, that's up to you. You also want to start using Anger, and then I've made a kind of like little setup here for the automation with Flame Surge and Steel Skin. The Flame Surge will be linked with Combustion, so you get that extra 10% minus fire risk if they are ignited by Flame Surge. And then of course the Steel Skin to just help you take some damage from you. The Flame Surge itself drop Burning Ground, and this alone is gonna be a very big damage increase early on. So with this in mind, where did we go to? Yeah, sorry, the skill tree. You will also start to be pathing downwards. Now, why would I say downwards? Because this is actually a pretty important part for your survivability. In the configuration, you can see endurance charges. You might be thinking, what the hell do you get those from? Well, the endurance charges actually come from this note down here, which states 10% chance to gain an endurance charge and kill while holding a shield. This is gonna be huge for you. And next to that, it gives you block damage chance to block attack damage while holding a shield, and it gives you increased damage with ailments while holding a shield. And given we ignite, this is pretty goddamn awesome. Oh, and I should mention, just buy the Leap Slam Groundbreaking of the auction house. Or auction house? Yeah, it's called auction house now, but basically trade your way for it. Now, we're still gonna be using the Lightning Golem, the Flame Golem, the Chaos Golem, and the Stone Golem, but we're gonna be using a Flame Golem of the Hordes, and of course we're also gonna be using a Primordial Chain. This basically enables us to have several golems so we can ensure that our buffs are up more often. The summon... Okay, I put Flame Golems. This was supposed to be Stone Golems, I'm very sorry. I'm gonna change that before I put up the POB. But basically, the Stone Golem of Hordes allow us to have more Stone Golems than just the normal Golems. And yeah, this is just gonna help you with the survivability. You want a Stone Golem, and of course here have I missed that one? I'm very sorry, I have missed one. But basically you want a Stone Golem of Safeguarding 2. This is gonna help immensely on your survivability. I'm very sorry I missed that one. So, next to that, we are starting to see that this is basically where you are before you start getting into the high-end territory. Your items should look something akin to this, and whenever we are getting into the red map zone, this is also where you're gonna hit like a DPS wall where you really need to start to ramp up. So this is also where you will start to find more uniques on the items, and this is gonna put quite a strain on you. So first of all, many of your resistances is gonna come from this polaric, devastating, orbital ring, barracks, and of course you're gonna have some gloves and boots that's gonna provide a ton of your resistance. This is also where you start to pick up the Dark Monarch's Lich Circlet if you can get it cheap. Otherwise, this is gonna be one of your later items to pick up. You also want to pick the Dawnbreaker. This should be up for sale pretty quickly. You don't need a very good one at the start. You can always upgrade it at a later point. And of course here you still have the Diadian, and then you want to pick up Roomies, Atsiris and Cinder Swallow if possible. This is also where you want to start using the clusters. And for the cluster jewel, I really want to emphasize this cluster jewel, you want Primordial Bond and Renewal and not a third option. If you get the third option, it might swap around where these are located on the cluster jewel, meaning your Primordial Bond can suddenly end up where this Renewal is, meaning you have to get more points to get to it. Now, why do we get Primordial Bond? Basically because it states increased damage per summoned golem and increased effect granted by your golems. So it's basically golems on steroid. It's been talked about a lot in the previous league and whenever the Leech of Primordial node was reworked, and this tech alone together with the Primordial Eminence is just gonna give you a ton of golem buff, and next to that it's gonna give you a ton of golem damage, as we'll be sitting at around 14-15 golems-ish. I can't remember exactly, I haven't counted, but something around 15 golems with the Dark Monarch and the Primordial Chain here. So we're using one Primordial Bond, two Primordial Bonds, and a third Primordial Bond, which is gonna be a 3 times 150, so 450% damage increase, which kind of make Divine Judgment a bit absolute, but anyways, this is what you want to go for. Now for the last resistance, if you can get it, I will strongly suggest you pick it up on all these rare jewels. I just chucked in some high flat damage with life jewels. You can of course exchange some of the flat damage with all elemental resist or elemental resist that you're lacking if it's specifically lightning or anything akin to it. And then of course here on the cluster jewels you can also get stats like lightning resistance, max life, anything akin to that, or dexterity. Now this is where you can really start to see that we will go up a ton in damage. You also want to start using, here for the Leap Slam, Awakened versions, and this is where we really go up in budget, and this is where you can really start to see a damage ramp up, and eventually you'll be able to do tier 17 maps. It has been proven by other players, so of course you can do it too. On the high budget, there's a thing you have to get here. I've used volatility, but basically Fist of War is gonna be just a bit worse, but you could get some higher basic knights, and yeah, it's up to you how you want to deal with it. The damage that you'll get consistently with volatility I just found better. I've seen a bunch of people on PoE Ninja using Fist of War, and I get why, because you'll just get this humongously big Leap Slam once in a while, or every 2 seconds basically, and it's just gonna hit so goddamn hard. And yeah, that's all there is to it. Next to that, there's not much of a change here, and this is where it gets really expensive. Of course, we'll be picking up a Svalin This is probably going to be one of your last pickups that you want to make, because this is going to be pricey, if you want to say so at least. And next to that, you want to go start getting away from Bronze Lift and over to a Covenant Spider Silk Rope. Now, if the Covenant Spider Silk Rope is about the same price as the Bronze Lift, I would just straight up go for the Covenant instead of the Bronze Lift. I know I used the Covenant in my previous build that I did a guide on, the Poison Zoomancer basically, and yeah. Next to that, you also want to pick up things like Forbidden Flesh with Heart of Destruction, and if you don't know what Heart of Destruction is, it's this one. It's the thing that grants you convergence whenever you hit a unique enemy, no more than 8 seconds, and given this is Breach League, we're gonna see quite a few unique enemies, so this is gonna be a really big thing for you, and while you don't have convergence, you're just gonna have immense AoE. For the items here, I also want to go a bit away from the uniques, because uniques are uniques and you can just take a look at them. For the Megalomaniacs, the most important thing is basically just they have Primordial Bonds for the more damage, so Golem buff effect, you get the idea. The main part here is the yellow items. For gloves, you want something called a Death Mod. These gloves can drop in death, and it's basically ignite you inflict deal damage faster. Then you want to use a Searing Exarch, Eat of World essences on them until you have fire exposure on hit, and ignite you inflict and spread to other enemies within 1.2 meters. This is also where you can swap away from Barracks Respite, and you can start use a rare ring instead to really help you fix those resistances. Next to that, you want generic boots, and you can always go for things like Onslaught on Kill, Craft, or whatever you can get. But basically you would want something with evasion, Indie Shield, because then it can roll dexterity, which you're going to be starving a ton of. So for this in mind here, there are also a few things you have to keep into consideration when you have this. The Primordial Chain has also swapped into a corrupted version in the high budget version. This also means we can apply an additional curse, so of course we're going to be using Flammability, and we're going to be using Elemental Weakness. In our Svalin setup, we're going to have Flammability and Flame Surge with Combustion, so we moved it out of automation, and basically in here you can see trigger a socketed elemental spell on block with a 0.25 second cooldown. This is gonna mean this is gonna be popping constantly. For self-cast, you want Elemental Weakness, and you're gonna be using it on bosses or anything that's hard to kill. Now, for the other two links, you're also going to be running a Guardian's Blessing and a Wrath Aura. I've not put these at level 21, but you could do that and boost the damage even more. So if you're on a high budget, you'll most likely be sitting on that, but I've kept it away for this demo. Also, next to that, you could probably also get a quality 23 or 21, but I have not put that in. Of course, here you still want the Frostblink and everything, and the Lightning Golem and the Flame Ice Stone, and etc. So for the tree itself, not key itself, the tree itself, we've unspec'd the Divine Judgment and a few other things here. And of course, we picked up all the cluster tools that you can see still, and we've removed a ton of the, what can you say, rare jewels, of course, and replace them with things like Watcher's Eye, the Forbidden Flesh jewels, and of course here you still have one Cobalt jewel, and this could also be a Abyss jewel if you want it with flat damage. Depends on what you need. Now, at level 26, I'm not sure, 96, I'm not sure I'm gonna push such a build further, but this is just to give you an idea what you can do with this kind of build. The POBs that I saw online also pushed it way past the dot cap of 35 million. So yeah, it's most definitely possible to push this. I have seen one version that was level 100 where he basically went for a stupid expensive ward version of this build, and basically even without conversion he had more than 35 million DPS. If you do not have convergence on, and that's kind of important, you will be sitting around 24 million. Only, quotation mark. And if you do not have a primordial chain that have the extra curse, but you have the other things, you will be sitting at 18. And of course, if you do not have a Svalin here, you can see we will actually go and pick the Dawnbreaker here. You will drop to 80k effective health pool, and if you pick up the Svalin here, you can see you will have 206,000. So all in all, this is just gonna be one of those comfy picks that can just go all the way. And if you midway regret that you've gone this, there's so many options to go with Elementalist. You can be a Wander now, you can go with Elemental Dot in some other kind, like the Exsanguinate build. You can go for a Elementalist, Righteous Fire, just go follow Pox for that, or you can go for any other Wave of Conviction setup for the Elementalist, and this will still last. So with that in mind, I really hope that this build have inspired some people. Let's just turn everything on before I save and export everything. And I really hope that many of you will have a wonderful league start, and I hope that this can help somebody out there, because that's the entire point of this video. Anyways, have a nice league start, everyone. See you on Get Go. Stay sane.